Welcome to the channel, guys. Today we're going to be talking about Virtuoso by Genre Parfums, which is an inspiration of Metallica by Xerjoff. So stay tuned for that. And if you like the content, guys, hit that like and subscribe button. I really do appreciate it. And before I get into the content, guys, leave a comment down below. What's your scent of the day? Today, I'm wearing Bleu de Chanel Parfum. Now, before I start getting into the actual review, I will say this bottle was sent to me for free, but as always, all the opinions are my own, and I'm just going to give you guys my honest thoughts on this fragrance. So, Metallica is one of those fragrances that is very unique, it's very beautiful. It's also very expensive and very hard to get. This is a Harvey Nichols exclusive, and so if you don't live in the UK, it's one of those things that's very hard to get. I happen to be in the UK right now, and I wanted this in my collection because I absolutely love gourmands, and this is one of the best gourmands I've ever smelt. It just has this very beautiful, sensual, seductive almond biscuit vibe that is really gorgeous, and I do love it. But if you don't want to shell out the £275 that this costs, or you don't happen to be in the UK very often, it can be hard to get. And so I think this is one of those fragrances that definitely does make sense to have inspirations or clones of. It not only makes it a little more accessible with respect to the cost, but it also makes it a little easier to get for people that don't live in Europe. This is very difficult to get otherwise. Anyways, into the review. Virtuoso is soon to be released by Genre Parfums, and it is an inspiration again of Metallica. Now, the main thing I get with Metallica in the opening is a little bit of strawberry, just a hint there, very subtle, and this very nice almondy biscuit kind of vibe. Now, the opening is actually, to me, the biggest area where this is different. I definitely pick up some kind of a berry. To me, it doesn't really resemble strawberry. It's maybe more like a cherry, but it's definitely some kind of a red berry. And it is fairly prominent to the nose in the opening. So I think that the berry is definitely different and definitely sets it apart. Now, I won't say it smells bad. It definitely doesn't smell bad, but it does smell different on this respect. Now, the berry vibe I also find lasts a little bit longer with Virtuoso. So it is going to be a little more prominent and a little bit more long lasting than in Xerjoff. I find the strawberry to be relatively fleeting and a lot more quiet. Now, it is great. I love the strawberry. It's a very nice, crisp, realistic strawberry. But it also doesn't last long. So this is a big point of difference. I also get a little bit of a freshness from that berry that I don't quite pick up on the original. But I think these are the two biggest points where they're different. Honestly, when this one starts to dry down, you get that really nice, creamy, sensual almond biscuit vibe going. And it's very creamy and very sweet. So both of these fragrances are actually quite sweet. So you do kind of have to be prepared for that idea. But to me, it's a gourmand that works really well. It's that gourmand heaven. And I will say within the first, 10 or so minutes, this one is not as nice as Xerjoff. First 20 minutes or so, it's definitely not as nice. But this is also one that once it gets into that dry down is very similar. I find the almond to be a little bit different. And at times I find this one even a little bit creamier, which definitely works really well. It has that very nice sensuality. And it's one of those things that, I would spray it on, I would be relaxing, and then as I'm chilling or doing whatever, I would get a little bit of sillage, and it has that really, really sensual vibe to it. And it's also one that I find myself just reaching for and sniffing the cap because I really do love that really creamy almond biscuit that it has. So I think all in all, with respect to smell, this isn't the closest that Genre has. It's very good though, and the dry down is actually very, very close. Now, as for performance, I don't find that Xerjoff is a beast mode performer, not this one. Now, it is one that has very strong sillage, but it doesn't have a huge amount of projection. So I remember the first time I actually wore it, it didn't fill up a room the way I thought it would. Now, it definitely is one of these ones that has a lot of sillage, so I would catch constant whiffs of it throughout the evening, and much more so than a lot of other fragrances that I've worn that do have good sillage. So this one is one that I definitely don't go nose blind to, and I do still pick it up in the air for hours after applying it. And it definitely is one that fills up the area around you. Now, it's a nice scent cloud. It's not by any means a skin scent, but it's not one that I would find fill up a room. I get something similar with that. This is not a beast mode, but it does have very nice sillage. And to me, that's one of the nicest things about both of these fragrances, because it just has that sensual, really kind of sexy vibe with that creamy almond biscuit. Now, actually, before I do go any further, I think that is one other part that's different. The almond note is slightly different. This one's a little bit sharper and a little bit drier, and this one is a little bit creamier. But all in all, they do smell similar, and this one does smell very good. Of course, this one also smells amazing. That's why I bought it. As for longevity, both of them last on me over 8 hours, so longevity is good. Especially for what you're paying for with this one, you would expect a lot of longevity, and it definitely has that. It lasts a long time. Similarly with this one, I get around 8 hours, and it does perform well during that time frame. Ultimately, I mean, if you consider the price point, this is $25 for 30 ml. For 100 ml, you're looking at 275 pounds, which is, I don't know, roughly $340 or something. And that's pretty expensive. So this is a nice alternative. And again, this one is very hard to get outside of the UK. It is a Harvey Nichols exclusive. And so obviously I'm here in the UK and I had to pick it up. But I think this is a good inspiration. It's very similar, although not identical. I mean, this one's maybe, I would say 90%, whereas some of genre I feel are like 100% or close to 100% clones of the original fragrances. But anyways, I do enjoy that one. I like Virtuoso quite a bit. I think I'll definitely be wearing it to spare at least some of my Xerjoff. But again, I mean, as I want to build up a little bit of a collection, this is one that I had to have the original of as well, because I do think it's one of those masterpiece fragrances. And I think genre has done a very good job of cloning that and providing something that's a little bit more accessible, that still has really the cornerstone of the fragrance, which is the creamy, sensual almond biscuit vibe. And this has that for sure. So I do enjoy that one. And yeah, that's it for this one, guys. I think it's a solid release, and I think it's going to do well for anyone that does like genre and does like gourmand fragrances. This is one I would definitely check out. Anyways, guys, that's it for this one. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.